Hey, I'm really glad you're here. If you've ever started cleaning just because the mess suddenly got on your nerves, no plan, no structure, and then an hour later, you're surrounded by piles feeling like you've made it worse. I've been there. That cycle of reacting to clutter instead of managing it, it's exhausting. You tidy, but it doesn't stay tidy. You start, but you don't know where to stop. It feels like no matter what you do, the mess finds its way back. So today, I want to share 10 small shifts that helped me finally break out of that pattern habits that helped me declutter with more clarity, more intention, and way less stress. These are the exact things that helped me move from scattered emotional cleaning to a system that's calm, practical, and actually works even when life is busy and your brain's a bit overloaded. Let's get into it. And the first habit is one I never thought would matter until it changed everything. Let's start with the first thing, and honestly, I wish someone had told me this sooner. You don't need to buy anything new to start decluttering. So many times I'd stand in the bathroom ready to clean, but then think I should probably get a proper scrub brush first. Maybe some storage bins too. And just like that, I'd put it off again. But recently I tried a different approach. I grabbed my kid's old toothbrush, cut the head down a bit, and used it to scrub the tile grout. It worked better than half the tools I've bought. An old t-shirt, the one with a coffee stain I could never get out, that became my go-to for wiping down the mirror and walls. Even an empty jam jar got a second life, holding all the random hair ties I kept losing. None of it was fancy, but it worked. And more than that, it let me start. Right then. No shopping trip, no excuses. Because the real blocker wasn't the lack of tools. It was that feeling of, I'm not ready yet. Using what I already had broke that cycle. It turned cleaning into something normal again, not some massive project I had to plan for. And once you start even in the smallest way, everything gets easier from there. Actually, this idea starting with what you've got, not what you wish you had, became the core mindset I used when I tackled the rest of our home. If you've ever wanted to reset your entire space without making it harder than it has to be, you'll want to come back for the next video. I'm walking through how I decluttered and reorganized my whole apartment top to bottom in a way that finally worked. But before we get there, let's move on to Thing 2, where we talk about how your space can actually remind you to do the things you keep forgetting. Now let's move into thing number 2, and this one completely changed how I manage everyday habits. If you're someone who forgets to take vitamins, never finishes the skincare you bought, or constantly skips brushing your hair because you just forget, it's not about laziness. It's about placement. Our brains are overstimulated, and when something's out of sight, it's usually out of mind. So instead of trying to remember everything, I started setting up my space to remind me. I put my toothbrush and face wash at eye level in the shower, not tucked in a drawer, not hidden in a cabinet, just right there, staring at me while the water runs. I moved my hairbrush and hair oil onto the bathroom windowsill. Yes, it's cluttered, but I finally started using them consistently. This isn't about aesthetic minimalism. It's about function. I'd rather see 3 things and actually take care of myself than hide everything and forget I even own it. If your current setup makes it hard to build habits, then it's time to adjust the setup, not blame your motivation. And speaking of setups, thing number 3 is about how to stop your cleaning efforts from undoing themselves. Now we're on to thing number 3, and this one saved me from re-cleaning the same spot 5 times. Have you ever started scrubbing one area, then spotted something dirty in another corner, and jumped over there instead, only to realize you've messed up the spot you just cleaned? Yeah, me too. Every time. So now I clean in zones. One section at a time, start to finish, before I touch anything else. In the bathroom, that might mean just the shower shelf first. I'll take everything off, wipe it down properly, dry it, and put back only what we use. Then I'll move on to the windowsill. Then the sink area. That's it. I don't try to multitask between corners. Because multitasking sounds productive, but it actually leaves you with half-done messes everywhere. And that's mentally exhausting. Cleaning in zones gives your brain a small win. You finish one thing fully, and that done feeling gives you energy to keep going instead of chasing your tail from corner to corner. And next, we're going to talk about the thing that makes that process even easier, making clutter impossible to ignore. Go for thing number 4, and I'll be honest, this one looks messy at first, but it works. If you've ever tried to declutter a shelf by picking out 1 or 2 things at a time, you know how quickly it turns into just rearranging. You move a few bottles, maybe toss one, and the rest quietly settle back where they were. The only way I've found to actually reset a cluttered space is this dump it all out. Take everything off the shelf out of the basket from the drawer and put it in the middle of the floor or the sink. It's chaotic, yes, but now you see what you have. All of it. No hiding. When I do this, I'm usually shocked at how many duplicates or empties I've been holding on to. Like 5 half-used bottles of conditioner, expired creams, old razors I thought I'd thrown away. Only then can I properly sort what do we use daily, what's nice but not necessary, what's just been living here rent-free. The visual mess feels worse for 5 minutes, but it gives you the clarity you need to make actual decisions instead of just shifting clutter around. And once that shelf is cleared and reset, we're ready to talk about what should stay out and what needs to stay gone. That's coming in thing number 5. On to thing number 5, and this one is about being brutally honest with what earns a spot on your shelf. If your bathroom feels cluttered, it's probably not because you own too much. It's because too much is visible. When everything is out at once, 6 body lotions, 3 shampoos, 2 razors, 5 face masks, it turns into visual noise. You forget what you actually use. And worse, you stop using the things that matter most. So I started limiting what lives on the shelves, not by category, but by frequency. If we don't use it daily or at least weekly, it goes in a bin under the sink. On our shower rack now, there's 1 shampoo, 1 conditioner, 1 face wash, and a bar of soap. That's it. The top shelf is my partner's. The bottom shelf is mine. No mystery items, no half-empty stuff just in case. And it's not about being minimalist. It's about access. When it's easy to grab and easy to put back, the space stays tidy longer, without more effort. Plus, when there's less stuff in the way, cleaning the shelf takes 20 seconds instead of 5 minutes. That small change gave me back so much mental space. Next, let's talk about the shelf most of us forget to question, the one that makes you work harder without you even realizing it. We're now at thing number 6. And this one's made a huge difference on days when I barely have the energy to think, let alone clean. There are times when the mess just stares back at you. You want to do something, but everything feels like too much. So you do nothing and then feel worse. What helped me shift out of that loop was this start with whatever feels light. Not important, not urgent, just doable. That could mean throwing away the empty toothpaste box, wiping toothpaste off the mirror, or folding a towel back onto the rail. One quick action, no big decision-making. A few weeks ago, I opened the bathroom door and instantly felt that wave of, I didn't deep clean. I didn't declutter. I just picked up a pair of socks off the floor and replaced the dirty mat. That was it. And somehow it was enough to make me feel like I wasn't stuck anymore. Because action builds momentum. And when your home reflects progress even the tiniest bit, it lifts something heavy off your chest. Let's carry that forward into thing number 7, especially if your bathroom has a few small chaos makers living in it. And no, I don't just mean shampoo bottles. We've arrived at thing number 7, and it's one of those small changes that quietly makes everything easier. You know that moment when you go to clean the shower, and you're moving around a dozen bottles, razors, half-used products, maybe even something that's been empty for weeks. I realized the problem wasn't that I wasn't cleaning enough. It's that I was making it harder than it had to be just by keeping too much in there. So now I only store what actually needs to be in the shower. 1 shampoo, 1 conditioner, a face wash, a bar of soap. No backup products, No, maybe I'll use this items. If it's not something I reach for regularly, it doesn't live there. I also use a small suction basket, just one that lifts everything off the floor and dries properly. No more slimy bottle rings, no more crouching to grab what I need. It's quicker to clean, easier to use. And weirdly, the whole shower looks calmer even when nothing's been cleaned yet. And with the shower simplified, thing number 8 is all about turning cleaning time into mental recharge time, because yes, that's actually possible. And now we're on to thing number 8, and I have to say, this one completely changed how I feel about cleaning. It's the thing that made me actually enjoy it. Because before this, I used to dread the silence of cleaning. Not because I hated the task, but because my brain would get loud. Overthinking, replaying conversations, remembering random to-dos. It made the whole thing feel heavier than it needed to. Now I pair it with something that gives me energy. Most days it's a podcast, something easy to follow, maybe a little funny or calming. Other times it's soft background music. And on the days when my head feels full, I just let the room stay quiet and treat it like moving meditation. The difference is massive. Wiping a mirror or rinsing the sink used to feel like one more thing to get through. Now it feels like 10 minutes where I get to unplug and somehow I come out of it clearer. I'm not saying cleaning is suddenly magical, but when it becomes a break instead of a burden, you stop avoiding it. And speaking of timing, thing number 9 is about when you clean, not just how, because doing it at the wrong time. That's where most of us burn out. Thing number 9 is about timing, because sometimes it's not what you clean, it's when you clean that makes all the difference. I used to try and clean whenever I had a spare 5 minutes, between tasks after work before bed, but I kept starting and stopping and it never felt satisfying. Then I realized something simple. My energy has patterns. I don't do well with nighttime cleaning. My brain's foggy, I'm impatient. But mid-morning with a little sunlight and some coffee in my system, I can move through a room like magic. So I started aligning light tasks with low energy times, like wiping down counters while waiting for food to heat and saving the heavier stuff for when I naturally feel more capable. It's not about being productive. It's about being in rhythm with yourself. And that makes everything feel smoother, less forced, less like a chore you're dragging yourself through. Because when you work with your energy instead of against it, the process stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like peace. And that brings us to thing number 10, where it all comes full circle with the mindset that finally made my efforts stick. And the last thing I want to share today is something that softened the way I show up for my home and for myself. There were so many times I avoided cleaning simply because I thought if I can't do it all, why even start? That mindset made the mess feel bigger than it was and made me feel smaller than I am. What helped me shift, I stopped trying to finish the whole room. Instead, I picked just one thing to care for. Wipe the mirror, toss the empty bottle, straighten the towels. That's it. And then I'd let myself stop. No guilt. One night, I only had time to clean the faucet. Just that. But when I saw it sparkling later, it made me smile. It felt like a quiet way of saying I did something good today. Because even a small act of care is still care. Even a short burst of cleaning is still cleaning. And every time you do a little, you're already moving towards something better. So, those were 10 simple shifts in how I clean, how I organize, and how I think about keeping my home in order. Nothing dramatic. Just small changes that made everything feel more manageable and more mine. If your space has been feeling a little too heavy lately, start with just one of these ideas. Even a tiny shift done with care can change how your whole day flows. And if you found this helpful, you'll definitely want to come back tomorrow. I'll be walking you through how I use this same mindset to declutter and reorganize my entire apartment. One zone at a time, No overwhelm, just calm, steady progress that actually lasts. If even one idea here helped you feel a little lighter, a little more in control, I'd love it if you tapped like or subscribed. That way I know this kind of content is what's really helping you and I can keep showing up with more that fits your real life.